you so much for joining us on this edition of CGTN live streaming. We are coming live to you from Beijing's Museum of the War of Chinese People's Resistance against Japanese aggression on Soviet. Today is a big day, a day big for Chinese people because it's the 86th anniversary of the all-out outbreak of that war we were talking about, that war against Japanese aggression. And today, throughout the day here at S Museum in southwestern Beijing, you can see hundreds and thousands of people have come on this day to pay tribute for the martyrs, for the people who lost their life in this war. Now, as we talk about this war of Chinese people's resistance against Japanese aggression, it's a very memorable event for Chinese people in China's history. That war had started, a major point of it has started 86 years ago. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of the background on this war that's so big on Chinese history. On the 9th of July 7th, 1937, on the night of July 7th, 1937, Japanese troops stationed near Lugou Bridge, that's in the southwest of Beijing, where we are at right now. The Japanese troops then had demanded to enter the nearby county seat on the pretext of searching for a missing soldier. They were provoking, and Chinese troops rejected the demand, and Japanese troops had bombarded the area, the county seat of the Lugou Bridge. Now, the local Chinese troops had fought back, and that's the start of the all-out aggression of Japan against China and the start of China's war of resistance against Japanese aggression that has started. And you are looking at the Museum of Chinese People's Resistance Against Japanese Aggression. The museum is constructed on that site of that event we just described on the night of July 7th, 1937. Now, a bit more on the background here. On July 8th, the Communist Party of China had published an open telegram to the whole nation calling upon the people of the whole country to rise in resistance against the Japanese aggression. And on the initiative of the CPC, the Anti-Japanese National United Front formally established on the basis of the Kuomintang and CPC cooperation. And that again is the start of the all-out Chinese people's resistance against Japanese aggression. And that war only ended 8 years later in 1945, and China won. But that Japanese aggression has caused 35 million deaths and casualties of Chinese people, and a US dollar worth of 600 billion of economic loss. So that is a painful page in the Chinese history, and we have continued to revisit this tragedy of a war. Not only because of the loss, but also because people still continue to draw lessons from it. And one of the things you are also going to see here in this hall, where hundreds of people all across China have come to pay tribute today, is some of the biggest lessons from the war. Again, we are here at the Museum of Chinese People's Resistance Against Japanese Aggression, and on entering it, you are going to see the place where people lay flowers here, and we are also going to see the biggest lessons China has drawn from that war, and those lessons are also etched on the walls here. It says, "Remember history and cherish peace." To the heart, and that's that's not only the message people reflected on this event, the event we were talking about that happened 86 years ago, but also a reflection on the whole war. Now, in 2015, that's the 70th anniversary of the end of war, of the World Fascist War, and that's also the 70th anniversary of the end of the war of Chinese people's resistance against Japanese aggression. Chinese President Xi Jinping had delivered a speech back then in 2015, and he had said that the reason why we were commemorating all of these, why the commemoration of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War was so important, is because that war is meaningful for Chinese people and also for the world and also for the future. Now, I'm going to read you a little bit of President Xi's speech there on that day, and when the 70th anniversary of commemoration of the victory of the anti-Japanese aggression war was held in Beijing that day, because that was the message I believe many still share today. Now, Chinese President Xi Jinping had said then that the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War were a decisive battle between justice and evil, between light and darkness, and between progress and reaction. In that devastating war, Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression has started the earliest and lasted the longest. In defiance of aggression, the unyielding Chinese people had fought gallantly and finally won total victory against Japanese militarist aggressors, thus preserving China's 5,000 years of civilization and upheld the course of peace of mankind. And this remarkable feat made by Chinese nation was rare in the history of war. Now, Chinese President Xi Jinping also said then, and I quote the following: "The victory of Chinese people's..." 断了。 I'm so sorry. I think we lost the signal for a little bit. Maybe you can hear us now, and we are picking up. I'm sorry. I think we have lost a little. We may have lost a little bit of signal there, but we are picking up from what we have been doing throughout the day. We're reporting you live from the Museum of Chinese People's War against anti-Japanese aggression. And this museum is constructed at the site of that all-out outbreak that happened 86 years ago. That's on July 7th, 1937, and you will see behind us hundreds, maybe thousands of people all over China have come here to pay tribute to those lost their life to this war. They've been putting flowers here, and people are, of course, reflecting on the war and its significance, its message on war and peace, and picking up on what we were saying then. We have a few lessons of the war, after the anti-Japanese war etched here on the walls of this museum. And I'm also going to again continue to quote you what Chinese President Xi Jinping had said about the commemoration of this war, of those atrocities and the tragedy, because they are meaningful not only for Chinese people but also for the world and for the future. Picking up on what we were reading to you earlier, now Chinese President Xi Jinping had said then that during the during the war, with huge national sacrifice, the Chinese people had held ground in the main theater in the east of the world anti-fascist war, thus making major contribution to its victory. In the war against a Japanese aggression, Chinese people has received extensive report and support from the international community. The Chinese people will always remember what the people of other countries have done for the victory of the war of resistance. Chinese President Xi Jinping had said then in 2015 that the experience of war makes people value peace all the more. The aim of our commemoration of the 70th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the world anti-fascist war is to bear history in mind, honor all those who lay down their lives and cherish peace and open up the future. And the world fascist war had inflicted over 100 million military and civilian casualties, and China had suffered over 35 million casualties, and the Soviet Union had lost more than 27 million lives. And the best way, Chinese President Xi Jinping said, to honor the heroes who gave their life to uphold freedom, justice, and peace, and mourn the loss of innocent lives brutally taken during the war, is to make sure that the historical tragedy will never repeat itself. Now, that's also the message we have seen the people tell us today when they come for the visit on this very special day in Chinese history. Now, throughout the day, we've seen people, young and old, either they are working or they are students. We also have seen people who have retired, people who have come from out of China to come to this place on this special day. And many say they try to make the appointments for coming here many days before, because this is a big day, and this is a day where people make so much reflection and think about war, think about peace, and think about what we are going to do. And throughout the day, I think throughout our live streaming, I think you get a taste of that, how Chinese people have come to view this war, and the tragedy, and what they've been trying to do since. And I think before we leave this main hall at this museum, maybe we'll look again at the lessons and message so many Chinese people today have come to share. That is, bear history in mind and cherish peace. That, I guess, is also why this museum is set up on this on this site where the July 7th all-out outbreak, that incident that traumatized so many, happened. That is the message we have been hearing throughout the day, and that is the message I guess all of China have come to keep in mind. But today, on this very special day, the July 7th, the 86th anniversary of the all-out outbreak of Chinese people's war against Japanese aggression, there is another very special exhibition that's launched today at the museum. That exhibition is downstairs, and we may have to go there, and we may again lose the signal for a little bit. But stay tuned with us, because that's another exhibition. There are also exhibits there. They will better show you how Chinese people have remembered the war and have come to see the war. And also down there we'll be joined by a curator and really the head of this museum, who is going to tell us more about this day and why they are putting up new exhibitions. They try to remember this day special. So for now, I'm going to leave you with footage that we took today on the people who have come here, and we will see you again in a few minutes downstairs. And stay tuned. We'll see you in 5 minutes. 那我们现 Thank you so much for coming back with us. Again, we are here at the Museum of Chinese People's War Against Japanese Aggression, and today is a big day in Chinese history. This is the 86th anniversary of the all-out outbreak of that war we were talking about. And today at this museum, the museum that's constructed on that seat of that July 7th event we were talking about earlier, they have put up a new exhibition that aimed to better tell the story of the anti-Japanese aggression war and give people more thoughts, food for thoughts. And today, for that new exhibition, and why today we're still commemorating this event with people from all over China, all walks of life, we're glad to be joined by the curator of this museum. We have Mr. 罗存康。谢谢罗馆长今天来就是跟我们介绍，就是因为今天是一个非常非常特别的时间哈。那罗馆长，我们首先想要问您的是，今天是这个86周年，已经过去了这么长的时间，但是我们今天还是看到很多人，为什么就是这个纪念是如此的重要？ I'm first going to ask Mr. Luo, who's the curator of this museum, why so many people have come and why it is so important for Chinese people to remember the day.
历史是最好的教科书。那么我们今年是纪念全民族抗战爆发86周年。我们在这里举行这个纪念活动，还有我们举办专题展览，那么大家的热情都很高，都愿意来我们抗日战争纪念馆。到此时此刻，我们已经今天下午开放了，我们的这个人员已经达到6、7千的观众了，说明呢大家愿意来了解这段历史。虽然是这个时间过去已经很久了，86年已经过去了，日本发动全面侵华战争，中国开展全民族抗战已经86年了，但是呢，大家呢都还特别愿意从历史当中去寻找这个答案，就是去牢记历史，珍爱和平。所以我们呢，结合这个全民族抗战爆发86周年的这个日子去那个举行一些纪念活动，举办一些展览。大家呢都特别愿意选这样一个重要的时间节点来抗日战争纪念馆参加我们的仪式，参加我们的展览。
I'll paraphrase a bit of Mr. Luo, the curator's answer to our question, why so many people have come today. Firstly, Mr. Luo said, by his account, by now that's around 4:30 in the afternoon, and this museum is only open for half a day. Already 600 or 700 people have come here. They have come from all over China because this is a very big day in Chinese history, and Chinese people think of history as the textbook. By revisiting this piece of history, they also think about what they can do now, and they gather the lessons. And one of the biggest lessons, like the ones we saw just now, is that we should remember the history and cherish the peace that's hard-won. Mr. Luo also said Chinese people have been commemorating this day, the event, and their anti-Japanese war in various ways, including here the museum has gathered much new material, and they have put up a new exhibition. 那罗馆长，您刚才也有讲到，我们很多纪念的方式就包括了今天在这里我们有一个全新的展览，能不能简单给我们介绍一下这个展览的内容，还有它可能要传达的信息？ I'm going to ask Mr. Luo what this new exhibition is about and what it's going to say.
我们今天呢特别推出了伟大工程，抗战时期中国共产党的建设专题展。我们推出这个展览呢，是想广大观众通过这个展览来了解我们抗战时期党的建设的相关情况。那么抗战时期我们开展党的相关情况，这次展览呢，我们展出了240多张图片，250多件文物史料，19个多媒体含视频，还有5个景观。那么我们重点是以党的文献来反映抗战时期党的建设取得的伟大成就， 主要反映了5个方面的内容，政治。
So Mr. Luo was saying we have this new exhibition with over 200 document artifacts and many new materials that will reflect the build-up of CPC, China's Communist Party of China. During this war, we were talking about the Chinese People's War against Japanese aggression, and he's going to tell us what this exhibition contains.
那么我们展览共分5个部分，主要反映了抗战时期的政治建设、组织建设、作风建设、纪律建设和思想建设。通过这个5个方面的建设来反映抗战时期我们党通过党的建设来加强我们党的力量，为夺取抗日战争胜利取得了这个坚强的政治保证。
Mr. Luo was saying here at this new exhibition and big exhibition, we're going to see how China's Communist Party of China has built up in that period in all its fronts, including its organization and how it conducts education. And we are going to further ask Mr. Luo on the message of the exhibition. 那这个展览它可能是有一个信息要传达的，包括对我们现在也是有意义的，对吗？
那么抗战时期呢，我们开展党的建设，把党的建设作为一项伟大的工程来推进，是我们党的一个壮举。早在1939年。毛主席在《共产党人罚刊词》当中就指出，我们要建设一个全国范围内的广大群众性的，这个思想上、政治上、组织上完全巩固的中国共产党，这是一件伟大的工程。后面我再讲。
好的，就是so Mr. Luo was saying this exhibition is going to show how Chinese Communist Party of China had come together and become that firm rock that we've come to see today. And a lot of the experiences, the early experiences, really reflect how it had came into being in that period. And he's also going to tell us how this exhibition will shed light on what's happening now.
我们总结抗战时期党的建设的宝贵经验，就是希望呢，就是为我们今天开展党的建设新的伟大的工程提供有益的借鉴。
So Mr. Luo was saying that the reason why this new exhibition is so important is that by looking at what happened over that period when China's Communist Party of China had come together and built up in that very difficult period, we could draw lessons and to build the party further today, and that's what we're going to try to do in a minute. And today we're so honored to have Mr. Luo, who is the curator of the Museum of Chinese People's War Against Japanese Aggression, and I hope if you are coming here, you could be finding him here. 那再次感谢您，罗馆长，就今天跟我们介绍这些。今天非常非常的忙哈，但是我相信还有是给大家留下了非常非常深刻的印象的。谢谢您，希望我们就是下次待会儿还能再采访。好的，谢谢罗馆长，谢谢。And as we wave goodbye to Mr. Luo, we will go into this new exhibition that started today on July 7th. Now again, today is the 86th anniversary of the all-out outbreak of Chinese People's War against Japanese aggression, and today this museum, which is constructed on that site of where of the outbreak, when that outbreak began, they had a new exhibition on what China's Communist Party of China did over that period. And if you still remember, we talked a little bit about that at the beginning of our live streaming. On July 8th, Chinese Communist Party of China had sent a national telegram that asked all people over China to rise and fight against the aggressors. That's how Chinese people have come together for this war. And that and after 1937, Chinese people have fought gallantly, bravely, but also at a very big loss. When the war ended and when China won 8 years later in 1945, 35 million lives were lost in China, and the economic loss is counted at somewhere around 600 billion US dollar, and that anti-Japanese aggression war we were talking about throughout the live streaming is also a major part of the world anti-fascist war, and with China being one of the most important theaters, and Chinese people's fight against Japanese aggressors also contributed to the final overall win for the world anti-fascist war. And here, as we slowly walk around this place, you'll be seeing the real relics, including archives and documents from that period that says what Chinese people and Communist Party of China has been doing. Here we have we see things that come around that period we were talking about in 1937, when the all-out outbreak of it began. And you are going to see such archives and documents, including videos and rare relics that's gathered from all over China here at the Museum of Chinese People's war against Japanese aggressors, including some of the major publications, the news reports, the opinion pieces that really moved the war, moved Chinese people, and moved how history goes. If you read Chinese, all of these will be familiar to you, including this piece of English article. This is by Chinese Chairman Mao Zedong. He's talking about the prolonged war. Now, this is a very important piece of document, but also it also says something really big about the war. When this piece of article is written, nobody knows that this war, the war against Japanese aggression, will last so long, but it was only won by China in 1945. But that prolonged war, the article also have given us, people who are living today, 86 years later, big lessons on how we are to look at the war and how we are to look at the hard-won peace and how we are to live our lives and contribute to the future. And through our walk throughout our live streaming, you will be seeing and hearing also from our interviewees repeating that message all through the day. That message is that looking at that devastation, looking at the tragedy of that war that cost so many lives, the biggest message to come out of that war, and the biggest reason why we should be commemorating that painful piece of history is that by remembering the history, we cherish the hard-won peace more. And that's our hope for the future too, that we remember the history and also we cherish the peace. And this will be the end of our live streaming, but if you are interested, you can always come here to the Museum of People's War Against Japanese Aggression. Finally, we'll leave you with the relics here. If that document that important piece of history. And thank you so much for joining us in this live streaming. We hope to see you next time. Thank you.